Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration.
Current and nostalgic, but not too nostalgic.
He's the world's most famous YouTube critic. Family movie
He really rocks.
He's a critic in a nutshell, but not one bit.
Hey, go screw yourself.
When family movies attack, if some are good, he'll hit them back. Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration. Fluttershy Plushie taught him to be goofy.
She's a radical plushie.
It's just so cool to review family movies.
Plane still sucks.
And that's really all that there is. What you're hearing now are Philly lyrics. Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration.
Current and nostalgic, but not too nostalgic.
Hello and welcome to Family Movie Collaboration, the show where I review family movies both current and nostalgic, but not too nostalgic. And welcome to the show's very first Valentine's Day episode.
Oh, good old Valentine's Day, the holiday of love and romance, the time to be sharing with the person you adore the most, and quite possible, if you are a movie fanatic like I am, you would be treated to a nice, relaxing, romantic movie every once in a while.
But to me, I thought it makes sense that if I take on something that Disney, one of my all-time favorite companies, has been doing since the early 2010s, their live-action remakes on their animated feature films.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious since Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, Disney is now in the process at making more live-action remakes on their animated movies. But however, the idea of that is really nothing new. It's been done in the past with 101 Dalmatians and quite a few years before the upcoming 2016 remake, The Jungle Book. And sadly, they didn't show pretty well. But I guess it makes sense to do it again for a newer generation and has gotten mixed reactions from critics and audiences, but pretty successful at the box office. I know another live-action remake I know of, Maleficent, is one of those films apart from the Tim Burton Alice movie. Well, trust me, I'll get to that film some other time, but that's not what I'm talking about today.
But what I am talking about is a live-action remake based on one of Disney's greatest animated films of all time, which was somehow pretty good. And surprisingly enough, it's on one that I don't really care much for, but yet I understand why people liked it in the first place. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm of course talking about the animated feature film turned into a live-action remake simply known as... What was that?
Hey, man.
Cheyenne Klein? Also known on YouTube as Echo Jonas 3? Who is also my girlfriend? Wow. I guess that's 3 things I'm totally shocked by. I should really get that checked out. But anyways, how did you get here?
Well, isn't it obvious? I mean, I managed to get onto the show by wiring my computer up to the US satellite that was hacked by DT, and while doing so, I managed to grab myself a little breakfast over by a local Dunkin' Donuts, which is right next to a 7-Eleven.
Wow, that's pretty chaotic to say the least.
Actually, I made those up. Well, except for Dunkin' Donuts and 7-Eleven, I was just hungry. But aside from that, what are we talking about here?
Oh, I was just talking about the subject of Disney doing live-action remakes on their own animated feature films.
Really?
Oh yes, and seeing of how they have been doing that since the early 2010s, starting with the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie, and I did say that I will review Maleficent some other time, I thought it makes sense if I review a live-action remake that came out last year based on an animated feature film that I don't really care much for, but yet I completely understand why people liked it in the first place.
It's Cinderella, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, if you guys couldn't tell, I'm of course talking about Disney's live-action remake on their timeless classic, Cinderella. And before any of you guys go nuts, let me just say this right now, is that I actually do like this movie. It's got some really clever ideas, some really nice updates, and of course, kept the charm of the original as opposed to modernizing it. unlike those other corporate sellouts. But this one, however, seems to be far different from any of them, which makes the film all the more worth it. And of course, I have mentioned it in my review on the trailer for Marvel's Ant-Man, but I haven't given it a full review to understand why.
So?
Yeah, why not? Since this is Valentine's Day and you and I have been in a relationship for almost a year now, why don't you review it with me?
Well, I'd be glad to, but under one condition.
Oh, well, okay, and what might that be?
Well, seeing how this is a remake of the animated Disney film by the same name, I don't want to give the original a lot of disrespect. So, just to make things a whole more easier, I thought it would make sense if we compare parts to this movie with the original.
Very well then, if that's what you want.
Good. Hey, Tails! Do you suppose you get the mowing running from here?
I think so. But in order to do that, I might need a DVD copy of the movie.
Oh, don't worry, guys. I got my trusty assistant to help me out. Hey, Fluttershy plushie!
You called, Ben?
Yep, I did. Do you suppose you have an extra DVD copy of the live-action Cinderella remake?
Yep, I sure do.
Good! I just need you to send that DVD copy over to Tailsaw so that Cheyenne and I can start our crossover review on this movie.
You got it, Ben.
Alright, we're good. Hey, Tailsaw, you got the DVD?
Yep, got the DVD and we're good in our end.
Awesome. Shall we go ahead and get this review done and over with?
Indeed we shall, Cheyenne. So, let's go ahead and take a look at Disney's live-action remake on Cinderella.
So it starts off with the backstory on Cinderella herself, which, by the way, her original name in this version is just Ella, while she interacts with her family, especially her mother.
Do you still believe that they understand you?
Don't they, Mother?
Oh, yes. I believe that animals listen and speak to us if we only have the ear for it.
They also believe that most of them can harness the power by some moonbeam magic, which suddenly causes an artist to beat the sharks at throwing iceberg, which causes the sinking of the Titanic, which then summons a tornado by carrying a little girl about your age in some place called Oz. That was probably a little bit stupid, to say the least.
So now the first thing you might notice just only 2 minutes into the film is that the backstory on our main character is actually pretty amazing so far. I'm not even kidding. This film is just about a year old now, and it looks pretty convenient than the backstory in Maleficent.
Yeah, it's actually one of the few things that the remake did much better at the original. Because let's face it, in the original, they didn't even show us her backstory. Here they actually show Ella herself interacting with her family throughout her much younger years. Actually makes more sense.
Yeah, makes much more sense.
Yup.
But a lot like every other fairy tale mother in the world, Ella's mother seemed to be getting ill and is believed to be dying. Ella decides to come in to see her one last time, but not before she gives Ella her final piece of advice, in which I'm sure that's what every other person trying to keep that in. Actually, that's what they're going with. Just deal with it.
You have more kindness in your little finger than most people possess in their whole body. And it has power. Have courage and be kind, my darling. Will you promise me?
I promise.
Oh, and promise me that you will grow up to be that actress who did that British drama TV show on PBS that everyone remembers.
As well as the recent War and Peace TV show?
Exactly.
She, of course, kicks the bucket as several years go by, as Ella has indeed kept her promise from her mother and has been taking care of her father for quite a while. Thus, we are introduced to our much grown-up Ella, played respectively by Lily James.
I do love a happy ending, don't you?
They're quite my favourite sort.
Now, to James's credit, she's really not that bad in this.
Yeah, she might be a newcomer to the acting business for quite some time now, but I still have to say she actually makes a good Cinderella in this version. But don't get me wrong, the original Cinderella did alright, being like one from the original fairy tale, but with this one in this version, it actually makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, well, I guess it does make much more sense by adding her in this version, since she was in Downton Abbey.
Have you seen Downton Abbey?
No, but my mom does. Why?
No reason. Moving on. So pretty much like the original, despite again never showing it in the original movie, Ella gets the word that her father has gotten remarried to a new stepmother named Lady Germaine, played by this version by... Wait, who's this woman?
Well, from what I could gather, the evil stepmother in this version is played by Kate Blanchett.
Oh, was she in anything before this?
Yep, she was in Ponyo, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies.
Well, good to know.
So Lady Tremaine, screw it, we're just gonna refer to her as the evil stepmother because that's what she's like in the original as well as this version, is quite impressed by her arrival to Ella's place and finally got settled in along with her daughters, which are now Ella's stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, played by Holiday Granger and Sophia McShira.
And let me guess. The actress who plays Drizella is also from Downton Abbey as well.
Yeah, pretty much, as Ella's father decides to leave for, I guess no reason whatsoever, just for very important business matters, as she decided to stay behind to help out her stepmother and stepsisters.
Now, mustn't blub.
Yes, stepmother.
Oh, you needn't call me that. Madam will do.
I don't have reason why, but I'm sure it'll no way result in me being the villain at the end of this. Oh, did I mention the villain in this movie? No. Well, I'm just saying it right now, just a friendly reminder. So, Ella had to move on up to the attic while she was, of course, treated to her pet mice, two of them being Jock and Gus. Now, to make it clear, in the original, they, along with a few other mice we could think of, actually helped out Cinderella in such a way, and I do admit their voices sound pretty cool. I mean, like right before Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Zook, zook, Cinderella, zook, zook, right the easy. Racket, Gus, Gus, racket, racket. Real careful.
But in this version, there are just like average everyday mice, in which still helps out Cinderella as usual, but never even talk because, well, they're mice!
Maybe I guess the people who made this movie got an idea from after watching the Dinobots for Aging Season.
Tails! I told you not to compare anything to the Transformer movie!
Sorry.
So after a few weeks go by, Ella suddenly gets the news that just like her mother, her father died from a pretty bad illness. Boy, they are really pushing the dying from a disease thing a bit too much, don't they?
I think that speaks pretty for itself, man.
Good point, as the stepmother ends up firing every single maid and butler in her own house, leaving Ella to do all the work herself.
I guess that's something that DT would after he watched The Happening.
Hey, good one, Shy!
Thanks. So as time goes by and thus gets herself covered in cinders and ash, thus resulting in her stepsisters calls her
Cinderella. Dirty Ella. Cinderella. That's what we'll call you.
Ah, yes, the name of great shame to say the least.
Ah, yes, indeed, sister. A name of great shame indeed, but it will result in a major popularity, like maybe getting multiple film adaptations.
Or maybe an opera, ballet, or maybe even a Broadway musical.
Or how about its own animated movie being very successful until years later it will get 2 direct-to-DVD sequels?
And both of those sequels being nostalgic as the movie itself.
Actually, I was thinking of having the second film to be absolute crap, only to result in the third film to be absolutely much better.
I hate you.
I hate you even more.
So Cinderella starts to feel bad for herself because her evil, and I do mean evil, stepmother and stepsisters mistreating her terribly. So she rides off on her horse in shame, you know, kind of like how Merida did in Brave. Hey, if we could pull off nostalgia critic references in Thomas's Adventures with Sam the Thomas Man walking Ackley TAC 4427, I guess Disney can pull off a reference from one of their movies.
As it turns out, just about 30 minutes in the movie, she comes across Prince Charming in the middle of the woods.
And here's something totally different about the Prince Charming in this version as opposed to the one in the original. He actually has a name.
He does? Please tell.
Okay, let me explain.
Again, in the original, they never give us his actual real name, but rather instead just give him the plain old simple name Prince Charming. But in this version, just to make things a whole lot more easier for us, they actually do give him a name for this one, which is... Actually, what's his name in this version again?
So, wait. The world's most popular Prince Charming in this version is named Kit. Why would they go for that idea?
Well, again, like I said before, since they didn't give him an actual name, but yet stick with the name Prince Charming, but by giving him a name, it actually makes a whole lot more sense. Oh, and did I mention that he's played by Game of Thrones actor Richard Madden? Yeah, he's played by Game of Thrones actor Richard Madden.
Okay, first Peter Dinkle in Pixels, now Richard Madden in this? I wonder how many actors from that show had to appear in a movie like this?
Probably a whole lot?
But still, as much as we say that Lily James isn't that bad in this movie, Richard Madden, however, well, there seems to be some sort of whimsical charm that is cramping up his facial expressions. Yeah, he looks like this throughout the entire movie. It's almost like in every single shot, he's trying to outdo Master Gracie from the Haunted Mansion, but ending up failing miserably.
What do they call you?
There was so much more to her.
Could I not wed, say, a good, honest country girl?
There's that wonderful girl. I can't stop thinking about her.
Yeah, even as every single cliche prince in every movie ever made, would you really watch him like this? He sounds like a bit too whimsical as much as, dare I say it, Generation 3 My Little Pony.
Maybe he just needs a little more from his acting coach, because chances are getting way too much advice from their acting coaches would result in a subtle performance.
That makes sense.
So while Kit couldn't get over the fact that he met Cinderella, calling her the most beautiful maiden in the world...
Probably not that close, Ben.
Okay, he sent out the royal crier out to inform everyone about his upcoming royal ball at the palace, where he's hoping that girl he's met earlier not only to come, but to also hoping that he will marry her.
Meanwhile, Cinderella informs her stepmothers and stepsisters about the ball coming up. And being such happy people in every villain in every movie ever made, they get overly excited for it.
That's very thoughtful of you.
What do you mean?
To think of me.
Me thinking of you? What are we, well-behaved gentlewomen? Oh wait, we are! Then we should probably take that in consideration of all this.
Having delivered your news, why are you still here? You must return to town right away and tell that seamstress to run us up 3 fine ball gowns.
All right, I'll take those orders into consideration to a certain someone. And who might that be, certain someone? Oh, just an average unicorn that can use magic to make dresses that you can normally get for every prom every store made. Oh, okay.
Family movie collaboration will return after these messages. We now return to family movie collaboration. Oh.
So the day of the ball finally arrives, as it looks like the stepmother and stepsisters are ready to go. So again, just like in the original, Cinderella decides to wear her mother's own gown to the ball, but they end up tearing it apart, leaving her behind.
I will not have anyone associate my daughters with you. It would ruin their prospects to be seen arriving with a ragged servant girl. Now mark my words. You shall not go to the ball.
Not that it would matter. You'd be shown up like anyway without an invitation at all. But you're lucky. Seriously, what does the stepmother have against Cinderella in the first place?
Maybe I guess it could probably be her being quite kind and pretty like every kind person ever made.
Well, if that's the case, then why does Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens look pretty handsome underneath the mask?
To be honest, I don't really know.
But she manages to come across an old homeless woman out in part of her yard and begins a little bit of curiosity from Ella.
Just a little crust of bread or better, a cup of milk?
Erin, could you possibly get me a husband too? I mean, I haven't gotten married for the past 57 years, but chances are I might need a man worth dying for. but not literally.
So Cinderella, of course, helps out the old woman, which reveals that she's actually not something out of the ordinary.
Oh my god, it's Glinda, who has become a fashion critic disguised as Queen Hillary Clinton!
Nah, I'm just kidding. It turns out the old lady turns out to be Cinderella's fairy godmother, played by former Tim Burton trope Helga Bonham Carter.
Well, great for them to get an actress who's trying to act a bit like a William Shatner.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
As she thanks Ella for her help and decides to give her something in return, which is, of course, getting her prepared for the ball.
So I guess that means we would bring up another comparison to the original and the remake?
Oh yeah, I must not forget about that.
Now, in the original, the whole scene of Cinderella getting ready to go to the ball is done throughout the entire musical number, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. And while it is a good scene in the original, chances are that the song is what made it more memorable.
But in this version, all done is just simple process with no musical number whatsoever. I know it makes a lot more sense to cut off the musical portion of this movie, but not in a way of just jumping right into it in the first place. But then again, I don't blame the director of this movie to give us Thor.
Neither do I.
Done.
But actually, to be fair, I actually do like this scene because while it's trying to be like the original, while taking away one of the most memorable Disney songs ever made, they did try to at least be a little bit more whimsical and charming rather than just shoving the whimsy down our throats. Even the transformation of Ella's dress in this version looks pretty amazing, for while it is trying to be like the original transformation scene, they did try to at least make it more open for the child's eye. Especially the reveal of the remake's version of the glass slippers looks pretty amazing.
For example, let's see what happens if I try to use this Geico Gecko plushie to transform my clothing into a nice looking tux. Darn it! It always turns my clothing into my Linus Van Pelt costume!
Really? Well, let me see if I can use this ball to transform my clothing into a ballerina costume. Darn it! It always gives me my Hatsune Miku tote bag!
I know! Fashion these days!
Yeah.
But just as Cinderella is about to hang out for the ball, the fairy godmother decided to give her one important— oh, you get the idea, just watch.
The magic will only last so long. At the last stroke of midnight, the spell will be broken, and all will return to what it was before.
Oh, and don't remind me about having that time extension. I do have one set up that'll let you go after midnight, so other than that...
That's more than enough time.
Oh, you'll just go for the one at midnight. Ah, well, suit yourself. So the royal ball seems to be off to a good start so far, as kids still hoping for Ella to come, but just in the stroke of luck, Cinderella finally arrives. And here's something completely different from the original. Not only does Kid caught her eye when she walks in, but also everyone else in the entire ballroom.
Wow! Glad to see they went with something different for this one.
So Ella finally meets up with Kit, in which, just like in the original, he doesn't seem to recognize her from an earlier scene, in which I have to admit is one of the most memorable and most romantic scenes ever.
It would give me the greatest pleasure if you would do me the honor of letting me lead you through this. The first.
Dance.
Yes, dance. That's it.
Now I have to admit, I actually do like this scene. Probably not because trying to be a little bit like the original. God, I don't even know how many times we've compared this to the original.
No, either. I think I lost count.
Yeah, maybe. But also the camera work during the ballroom dancing is what made it more incredible and tying perfectly to the music. But since this is a comedy show, I'm gonna play this over this scene.
So Cinderella and Kid head out into the ball to a secret garden, and yes, all royal castles have secret gardens, deal with it, as they talk for a little bit until losing one of her slippers.
Allow me.
Thank you.
Spoilers movie!
Can you at least tell me your name?
My name is...
But it turns out she forgot about the part where she's supposed to leave before the magic wears off, as she tries to make it back home before the clock strikes midnight. Kit tries to go after her, but I guess just like in the original, in which I guess they did get another part right, she loses one of her glass slippers and just takes off without it, leaving it behind.
But however, the clock suddenly strikes midnight and everything the fairy godmother created starts straight back.
There's no time! Michael Bay it!
There's a caption contest for you people. See what you come up with. I'm quite curious.
So Cinderella finally manages to get back home with one glass slipper she has with her. And the stepmother and stepsisters make it back home, and the stepmother becomes a tad too suspicious while becoming a James Bond villain for some reason or another.
Yes. The way of the world.
One can never be too careful when handsome men in tuxedos carry walkthroughs.
Wow. For the first time in my life, we actually showed the clip from one of the James Bond movies. But that'll never got flushed away in pulling off a reference from that.
Oh, not at all. I'm not gonna lie, but it turns out Kit suddenly finds out that his father is dying from a disease and immediately decides that he has no choice but to find the girl of his choice to marry her.
Well, what is it, the fourth time they've done the parent die from a disease cliche?
Third.
He was married for love. Find that girl.
I wish this was a Don Bluth production, because even if it is, we would be wrapping up at this point. No? Oh well, my life is screwed. Later, Kit!
But Kit is not gonna give up so easily, so he sends the word out to everyone saying that in order to find his true love, he must have every Megan wear the glass slipper in order to find her and marry her.
So Ella tries to make it back and find the other slipper she has, but what a shock, not only was the evil stepmother there with her glass slipper, but she has already found that she went to the ball that night.
Kindness is free. Love is free.
Love is not free.
Why can't you just get Stockholm Syndrome like everyone else in this kingdom? That should be more up your alley than just dancing with some stupid prince.
Anastasia and Drizella, we will pair off with wealthy lords, and I shall manage that boy.
Believe it or not, I'm not even making that up. Cinderella herself stands up against her own stepmother.
I was not able to protect my father from you, but I will protect the prince and the kingdom. No matter what becomes of me.
Okay, I know the dancing is pretty nice, but with this scene where Ella is finally standing up against her own stepmother, it's actually pretty clever.
Yeah, that actually makes more sense. Because the original, she's just a damsel in distress hoping to be rescued by someone she loves, and easily gets together in the end. But in this, she's much more self-determined, and the promise she kept her mother in the opening really stands out.
Yeah, I could take Princess Peach from Super Mario Bros. More seriously if she stands up against Bowser rather than having Mario try to stop him.
Oh, Princess Peach, now that I've successfully captured you for a 10 billionth time in a row, you have no choice but to marry me!
No, I'm tired of being the damsel in distress and having no personality. And besides, do you have any idea that there's literally every other dragon in the world that you can honestly hook up with? Even the Loch Ness Monster is taking an interest in you. And on top of that, you are even insane for kidnapping a human princess like me! Can you even imagine what our kids would look like? They would end up looking like the Teenage Ninja Turtle rejects, and not in a good way!
Fine, I don't need you anyway. I'll go ahead and lock myself in the room of despair like I usually do.
Hey, you Peach! What the happened to Bowser?
Oh, he just needs a little alone time for himself. After I immediately stood up against him for no reason whatsoever.
Ooh! But the evil stepmother doesn't take it pretty well and smashes her glass slipper, thus locking her up in the attic. So while they are looking for the mysterious Megan who wore the glass slipper, she goes up to the Grand Duke, played by Stellan Skarsgård. Did I get that name right? Am I missing that other little O? But anyways, she actually tells him about Cinderella being the girl who danced with Kit at the ball, and he, of course, decides to leave her out.
Yeah, why isn't he supposed to help out Kit finding her?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I don't think we should really question that. It's just a scene that I really didn't like, apart from...
I'm afraid of heights.
Okay, that's the third time a clip from Planes has been shown. Any more and I'm gonna freak out!
So they finally arrive at Ella's house and try to fit the slipper, Anastasia, and Drusilla, but sadly it didn't work. But when it looks like they're about to give up, they suddenly hear Cinderella singing coming up from the attic. They decide to show up just in time for guess who to show up?
Grand Duke.
Yes, you hear right. Kit unsuspectingly shows up in disguise.
What a twist!
I knew that was coming.
So Cinderella reunites with Kit, got the glass slipper to fit on her, and, like every other kind person in the world, she quite honestly forgives her stepmother.
I forgive you.
Oh, and if you see my dying aunt out in the street, just tell my uncle she said to swing away to prevent an alien attack whose only weakness are both water and wood.
Thus it ends with Kit and Ella finally getting married, and thus it ends our story.
If only you believe in courage and kindness, and occasionally, just a little bit of magic.
So that was Disney's live-action remake on Cinderella. How does it hold up? Surprisingly pretty well.
I mean, seriously, how could you not like this movie one bit, and at least try to be like its animated counterpart without adding tons and tons of subplots to distract us from it, and ultimately succeeded at it very well. The update on the story is brilliant, the characters, I have to say, are represented pretty well, the effects and costumes look breathtaking, it almost looks like I can touch it in 3D, and the editing is perfectly paced, and again, it kept true to the original rather than just modernizing it a little bit too much.
Yeah, but don't get us wrong, there are some things that didn't work in the movie, like in the bit of subplots that are completely pointless, and most of the characters are being a bit too whimsy in it, but aside from that, this remake is all pretty much amazing. Not the best live-action remake that Disney has put out there, but still pretty much fun to watch.
So I guess on the family movie collaboration number scale, we're gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10?
Yeah, like I said before, it's not the best live-action remake that Disney has put out so far, but a whole lot more fun to watch to say the least. And since this is a pretty successful, Disney is now up to do more in the future, and no wonder why the upcoming Jungle Book looks pretty amazing by the trailer, especially with the Iron Man serving director for this one.
No argument on that here. Well, thanks for joining me, Cheyenne. It was great talking about this movie, and I'm glad we're able to do this.
Anytime. I'm always happy to help out my wonderful boyfriend.
Oh, come on, Shy. I'm blushing. Really, I am.
Oh, you.
Well, thanks for joining us for this special Valentine's Day episode. And with that said, this is Ackley Tac 4427 saying peace out and... Okay, we'll quickly go over Frozen Fever.
For those who don't know, this is an animated short that premiered alongside this movie just immediately before it starts. This one centers around Elsa and company preparing for Anna's birthday party, all while Elsa gets completely sick and sneezes out tiny snowmen in the process. And I have to admit, it's actually pretty nice. It's actually quite nice to bring back the people from Frozen itself to do this short, and to be fair, the song Making Today a Perfect Day isn't that bad. For while I do give the short 2 thumbs up, I don't think it can beat out Frozen entirely, especially with its sequel coming out. It's still my all-time favorite movie, and I cannot stop liking it.
I do agree, it can't beat out the movie itself, but the short itself isn't really that bad. And I do like it many different ideas for it, for while not being able to beat Frozen, but it's still pretty fun to watch. And it's a great way to reintroduce the characters from a movie while still good at times, but people won't shut up about it. In fact, I think the more I think about it, there's something else nobody ever knows about.
Well, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, transformation! My life is a series of struggles in my face. And then suddenly you came into my life.
I was thinking the same thing, because like,
I've been searching my whole life without leaving my place. And it's my movies talking, or maybe my stripe.
Cause with you,
I
found your place.
Kind of odd, shy. And there's nothing we've never knew before. Love is our open door. Love is our open door. Love is our open door. With you. Love is our open door. You see, Cheyenne? I guess there's more to us than we thought.
Well, yes, Ben, but there's probably more to that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy.
What?
I keep forgetting my
sentences.
That's what I was gonna say. I never met someone who loved as much as me. Jinx! Jinx again!
I knew we both have problems.
But they bloom out like blossoms. You
and I
were
just
meant to be.
Say
goodbye to our pain in the past. We don't feel that anymore. Love is our open door. Love is our open door. Life is so much more with you. Love is our open door. Can I say something crazy?
What?
Will you?
What?
Will you?
What?
Tie my shoes. I forgot to do that this morning.
Oh, you.
Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration. Current and nostalgic, but not too nostalgic. He's the world's most famous YouTube critic. Family movie He really rocks. He's a critic in a nutshell, but not one bit. Hey, go screw yourself. When family movies attack, if some are good, he'll hit them back. Family movie collaboration. Family movie collaboration. Fluttershy Plushie taught him to be goofy.
Well, glad to see that review is done. Say, Tailstar, what do you say you be up for?
Fluttershy Plushie, what are you doing here?
Is that a shrine of me back there?
You haven't seen anything. Gotta go, bye!
Can someone please explain to me what the heck is going on? I absolutely have no idea whatsoever.
The way of the world.
Hey guys, this is Ackley Tack4427 here. Thank you for watching this latest episode of Family Movie Collaboration. There was a lot of time and effort being put into this episode, and we're glad how it turned out. Thanks for watching, and thanks for making this possible. So, if you want to see the previous Family Movie Collaboration review on Flushed Away, click the video on the left.
I kept my legs straight, Spike.
Well, I'm sure you just make a 25-year-old man who is high on drugs comedic fantasy come true.
If you want to see a lost episode of Family Movie Collaboration, click the video in the middle that'll take you to my review on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2.
See, on Broadway, we don't need extreme close-ups to prove we're singing live. We sing live 8 shows a week.
Cannot go wrong with that.
And if you want to see a video on my main channel, click the video on the right that'll take you to my remake on Sordor Adventures Episode 1, Trouble on the Tracks.
Thank you, guys.
Speaking of that, if you want to see our own content that me and Sam create, then feel free to click on one of the 2 icons that'll take you to our main channels. If you have any constructive criticisms or any advice on how we can improve our videos in the near future, then feel free to leave them in the comment box below. If you want to see more videos on this channel coming up in the near future, then feel free to click on that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next review. Until then, take care.